My name is Alison White and I am a lecturer in the School of Natural Sciences at Griffith University. One of my roles is as a Program Director of the Graduate Diploma of Clinical Physiology. This is a one-year program that prepares students for careers in the clinical environment in the hospital setting. One of the courses that students undertake is pathophysiology, and students have reported struggling with the content, both the breadth and the depth of the content in that course. And this was a real challenge that I faced to try to engage and motivate the students with the content. The students often struggle to glean the relevance of that content. So one approach that I took to try to face that challenge was to integrate some problem-based learning, inquiry-based learning for the students, to assist the students to make meaning of the content and see the relevance of the content within their career. And this is a really important challenge. It links back to the Griffith graduate attributes, and for me that's being knowledgeable and skilled in their discipline. Students often really struggle when we talk about the Griffith graduate attributes. You often get a puzzled look of what is that? What does that mean? What relevance does that have for me? And particularly being knowledgeable and skilled in their relevance, often they just see content heavy courses and struggle to really make meaning, make a connection with that content to their career progression. So my experience with my students, particularly at the postgraduate level, was to introduce some workshop style lessons where we use small group interaction. The students were given problem-based learning, which were based on real-life clinical situations. That allowed the student to make sense and contextualise the knowledge that they already had, the knowledge that was delivered in the lectures, and then application of that knowledge, that real contextualisation to a real-life problem. The impact and the outcomes of this initiative showed a large increase in the student evaluation of course. Students began to engage with the course content in a much more positive manner than in previous offerings with the course. Then taking that one step further, the students then need to almost have the factor of what benefit does it have for them. Taking that problem-based learning style of workshop and then supporting it with an authentic assessment item. Once again, making the content explicit and linking it. The students responded in a very positive manner, once again, commenting through the student evaluation of course and student evaluation of teaching about how much more motivated and engaged they were. They could see the relevance of what they were learning. And the outcome of that also, from an assessment point of view, is that from previous course offerings, we saw a large improvement in the success of the students in their assessment item. This was linked to an assignment, which was once again based on a real-life clinical situation. And due to the success at the postgraduate level, we then extended that style of workshops and also integrated authentic assessment to undergraduate level. Many of the students that enter the postgraduate program come directly from a undergraduate program in which in their third year of their degree is an advanced physiology course. Within the advanced physiology course, there were also workshops within that course as part of their learning and teaching routine. However, those workshops had almost been delivered almost as a mini lecture, so just standing up and giving the content again to the students. Students were disengaged, they didn't attend the workshops, and we had difficulty in encouraging and motivating the students to engage with the content. Taking the model of the problem-based learning workshops at the postgraduate level, we then embedded that at the undergraduate level. We completely redesigned the workshops to be problem-based learning. The students were given access to the clinical problems several days before their scheduled workshop. This allowed the students to engage in the content in their individual manner to support their own individual learning style. Then in the workshop setting, the students were encouraged to self-select their groups, to form groups in which they were comfortable to interact and communicate with their peers. They were encouraged to work through the problems, collaborate, communicate, and arrive at some positive decisions and outcomes with regards to the problem they were working on. At the end of that peer group discussion, we then reconvened as a whole group. And moving towards a larger group, we then took 10 to 15 minutes to engage with the content, listen to other people's ideas, and how that all contributed to arriving at a decision about what the answer to that problem was. The outcome of embedding those workshops and completely changing the style once again had a large positive impact on the students' motivation and their engagement with the content. This was evidenced by student surveys. Students were asked, did they feel the workshops were beneficial to their understanding of the content? Would they have understood the content as well without those problem-based learning workshops? And up to 83% of students strongly agreed that the workshops motivated and engaged them in their learning. And without that style of problem-based inquiry learning and collaborative group peer discussion, they felt that they would not have been as successful of learning the content and engaging with the content. The problem-based learning workshops were then supported by an authentic assessment item, an assignment in exactly the same problem-based learning style again. Once again, we saw an improvement in the outcomes in the assessment items at the undergraduate level again. So my final tips, I think, can be summarised in 3 words. When approaching the Griffith graduate attributes, I think we need to strive to be explicit. Make it clear to the students how that Griffith graduate attribute is supported and developed through your course. Also, need to then make it inclusive. However you intend to support that Griffith graduate attribute development in your course, it needs to be embedded within that course. And in my courses, we did that through the use of both the workshops, style learning with the problem-based learning, and also with the supported authentic assessment items. And in summary, the last point I'd like to share with you is relevance. And with the relevance, that's where the authenticity is built in through the embedded assessment item. So explicit, inclusive, and also authentic.